It began not with a whisper, but with a thud. A single dossier slammed on the desk inside Burkina Faso's national security headquarters. Not a rumor. Not speculation. A file, thick, sealed, stamped with two chilling words. The future treaty. What lay inside was no plan for progress. No cure. No vision for a better world. It was a script for surrender. Endorsed by the WHO. Funded by names all too familiar: Bill Gates, George Soros, Klaus Schwab. It promised unity and health. But beneath each clause hid something far more sinister. Total control. On August 15, a scanned copy appeared on a wall-sized screen. The signature on the bottom? That of a former leader. Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traoré, stared in silence. Then his voice cut like a blade. This is not just paper. This is betrayal without a bullet fired. That same day, arrests began. A former health minister. Business elites. A retired general. Each name linked to foreign cash, Davos meetings, and whispered promises. Hidden in a safe, investigators found a hard drive. Encrypted. Locked. Then, decoded. Emails revealed the truth. By signing the treaty, you will secure a seat on the regional board. National interests will be secondary. Funding traced from Ouagadougou to Switzerland. From Luxembourg back to West Africa. Labeled as health aid. In reality? Laundered influence. The finance minister clenched his jaw. This isn't aid. It's economic warfare. It's a financial reset masquerading as help. And the deeper they dug, the clearer the pattern became. Control through data. Power through digital identities. DNA, health records, everything stored, not in Africa, but in private servers abroad. On August 17, just before dawn, screens lit up with something even more disturbing. The Great Reset 2030. An intelligence officer addressed the room. Mr. President. This is not a treaty. It's a global power grab, under the guise of health. The plan was horrifying. All emergency powers centralized in Geneva. African children, test subjects for unapproved vaccines. A global digital currency, tied to biometric ID, controlled by outside actors. When interrogated, a former official confessed. They told us, join now, get rewards. Vaccines, funding. But the cost was everything. Traoré's reply. That's not a reward. That's the price of submission. Burkina Faso erupted. Crowds filled the streets shouting. No Davos. No reset. That evening, on national television, Traoré held up the treaty. No weapons behind him. Only truth. They call it health. I call it chains. They call it cooperation. I call it surrender. But we have awakened. Across the Sahel, nations took notice. Mali. Niger. Guinea. Their leaders reached out. Traoré stood on the square with the treaty in hand, and tore it apart, page by page. Africa will write its future. Not Davos. Not the West. Us. And so began the Burkina Faso Declaration of Freedom. A call to every African nation to reclaim sovereignty. 24 hours later, the storm hit. G7, falsehoods and conspiracy. Bill Gates, dangerous rhetoric. Paris, unacceptable defiance of international order. Sanctions followed. SWIFT locked Burkina Faso's financial system. Aid froze. Media propaganda exploded. The West labeled Traoré a dictator. But the people called him something else. The new Sankara. But isolation was never complete. True allies emerged. Russia sent grain. China offered credit lines bypassing SWIFT. Turkey shipped medical supplies with a note, "Health cannot be sanctioned." Venezuela called Burkina Faso a bastion of anti-imperial resistance. And online, the people fought back. Hashtags like #FutureOfFreedom and #AfricaAwakens trended globally. Clips of Traoré tearing the treaty went viral. A Nigerian student wrote, "They called Sankara a rebel. They call Traoré extreme. History calls them liberators." August 20th, African Union Headquarters, Addis Ababa. Traoré took the podium. His words, not slogans, but proof. On the screen. Emails paying protesters to destabilize. Contracts signed in Brussels, not Ouagadougou. Tax policies written in Davos. They call it partnership. I call it recolonization. Africa is not a lab. Our children are not experiments. Mali. Guinea. Niger. Delegates stood and echoed. We refuse to sign. The world shifted that day. The global South roared. The West stood exposed. At Independence Square, Traoré rang a small bell. It was forged from the ashes of the torn treaty. A craftsman shaped it by hand, out of defiance. He called it, the first bell of freedom. Traoré's voice rang louder than sanctions, clearer than propaganda. They can freeze our funds. But not our courage. They can smear our names. But not silence our dreams. If they dream of chains in 2030, we will make it the year of liberation. The bell echoed across villages, cities, borders. Africa heard it. The world heard it. And now, so have you. If this story stirred you, don't scroll past it. Don't let it be buried. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe. Share. Comment. Because this isn't just a story about Burkina Faso. It's a story about us all. When one nation breaks a chain, others follow. And when one voice dares to rise, it becomes a chorus. Bell ring the bell of freedom. Let it be heard.